Hello, I'm Dr. Leon Stutzman, aka Doc, with another one of these little videos designed to help you to get through these strange days in which we find ourselves, and these are strange days indeed. When I went into the ministry, my father disinvited me out of the house. He said, if you're not going to work for me in the family business, don't bother to come back. My co-evangelist and I went to revivals in Okmulgee and Tulsa, Oklahoma. When we left town, I had $100 in my pocket, my last paycheck. He had $10 in his pocket. Two bad revivals later, he decided that he was called to hang sheetrock and left me in Dallas. He had $100 and I had $10. I don't know how that worked out. But with that $10, I paid up a week at Esilu Knights boarding house, which was behind the church. She had 5 or 6 boarders, most of them peripherally associated with our church. $10 a week, it was a dismal place. I'm talking about Supernatural Supply this week because I know that there's some of you going through some difficult times right now, and you need to tap into Supernatural Supply. You need to understand when I talk about Supernatural Supply, when I talk about divine prosperity, I am speaking out of experience. That little boarding house had cardboard on the walls to keep the heat in, a little space heater in the middle of the room that halfway lit up the room at night, a bed that sagged in the middle, and I don't know, it's probably 100 years old, but $10 a week, beans and cornbread. I could afford that. I prayed in $10 every week. In fact, the little Pentecostal church invited me to preach to their youth group as a general rule and always gave me $10. That covered room and board, but that didn't cover everything else like razor blades and deodorant. I had to pray those things in. I needed razor blades, and I made it a matter of prayer because I shaved twice a day. I needed razor blades. A day or two later, Esilu Knight walked into the living room, looked at me and said, I found these and I thought you might want them. And she handed me 100 brand new Wilkinson Sword razor blades. And I said, I didn't say Jehovah Jireh because I didn't know the verse back then, but I would say it today. The Lord supplies 100 Wilkinson Sword razor blades, which is what you're seeing right here. 100 Wilkinson Sword razor blades, because a few years ago I read an article on proper shaving and they said a safety razor is the best thing that you can shave with, and I bought razor blades in bulk and a state-of-the-art safety razor. That's neither here nor there to the story, but 100 Wilkinson Sword razor blades was Supernatural Supply in those days. A little bit later, I believed for a old 1955 Chrysler New Yorker Deluxe, and in a work of reconciliation, my father gave me the $100 to buy that old car. That became my first evangelistic vehicle. I understand Supernatural Supply because I have lived Supernatural Supply for the last 50 plus years. There's a great promise in Psalms 37:25. David is looking back on his life and he said, I was young, I'm now old, but I've not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging for bread. I want you to believe God this week for Supernatural Supply to manifest in your life. Maybe you're not in a tight spot. Maybe things aren't going poorly in your life. Maybe things are going wonderfully well in your life. I still want you to believe for Supernatural Supply. Why? Because I've learned to practice the power of Supernatural Supply. And even in these days, in fact, Friday, I'm going to tell you a story from just last week. A story of Supernatural Supply. Even in these days, I still believe for Supernatural Supply because I want to stay in practice. I want you to practice the power of Supernatural Supply this week and believe for Supernatural Supply manifesting in your life. I'll be back on Wednesday with another one of these little videos. And of course, Friday, I'll share with you that incident from last week. It was just a moment of Supernatural Supply in which I said, yeah, Jehovah Jireh. God always comes through. Why don't you say that out loud right now? God always comes through. This coming Sunday at Aspire Church, I'm in a series called Strange Days. This Sunday, Strange Day Finances. I woke up in the middle of the night last week and the Lord put a word on my heart. And I said, whoa, that is a word from God for this hour. I'm sharing it this Sunday. You can catch it live on the live stream at aspirechurch.tv, or you can catch it on Facebook at Aspire Church TV. That's Facebook, Aspire Church TV, live stream aspirechurch.tv. 10 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. It's going to be powerful. See you Wednesday. I'll look for you then.